Hello and welcome everybody to live laser distractions. Should be some fun tonight, I hope. Hope everybody's getting ready for their trip to Coma tomorrow. I know I'm looking forward to mine, but welcome. And let me get talking about what I'm going to be doing tonight. Let me first run down here real quick. Good evening, Dave. How you doing, Alan? Good to see you in here. JR, thanks for coming tonight. Jerry's in the house. Uh, Glad you're here catching it live, Jerry. Rob, all the way from down under. Glad you're watching. And William's in here tonight as well. So got a few folks. Let me just move back over here. I do have something I'm pretty excited about. It's not a big deal for you guys, but I had another monitor sitting back here that I was using for some other stuff. I got another little computer up underneath that workbench. And then I thought, well, let me just see if I can connect it to my laptop and use it as a second monitor. And it does, it's working like I thought it would. So now when I have my back to you and I am fiddling around with the laptop, running the laser and stuff, I can now see the chat because you can see, you probably tell I have StreamYard on back there on that monitor. So I'll be able to see the comments and really could run the show from that computer as well, the laptop. So anyway, let me swing back around here and let me know if this mic craps out on me again. I did a little bit better job, I think, of getting the battery charged on this thing. So the only thing is this computer runs a little bit slower, so I may have to try to run things from the other one because it is sure taking its time. Oh no, it's up. Okay. Yeah, it's just slow on this computer. Okay, I want to talk about this for a minute. This is I posted some pictures of some stuff. This is a picture I got the other day of good old Popeye the Sailor Man. And let's see here. I got to figure out which way to run this mouse. Here we go. And let's see if I can click the right way. Nope, that's the wrong way. But I did this. I brought that picture in and did a trace. And then I cut this on the laser the other day. And this is one of my 12 by 19 inch panels. So old Popeye's about 18 inches tall. Oops, too many clicks. And then here is the finished result. It came out really, really nice and was a lot of fun to do. And when I posted this picture on Facebook and in one of the Facebook groups, I got a ton of questions on how in the heck did you do that and get such clean lines and all that stuff. And I'm going to tell you that it's, spoiler alert, it's really not that hard. So I thought I would show tonight because I've got another project that I want to do. And let me see, before I do that though, I wanted to, I forgot to do this. I wanted to show this here. This was the project from last week, not the Happy Thanksgiving thing. That's something I did several days ago now, but the Merry Christmas thing, that's what we did from last week. That's from Steve Good scroll saw pattern from his website. So I wanted to show that because I did get it painted and did the backer red and actually painted the Merry Christmas part white since it had snowflakes on it. Turned out really good. And something else I've learned too is, you notice I've got just some brown paper. I've learned that if I use this paper, I can get rid of that nasty reflection right there. So whenever I'm showing something for under this camera right here, I'll make sure I put this paper on. So trying to learn all this stuff, how to make this the best live stream I possibly can. So anyway, just wanted to show you that from the last time, and I'll move it out of the way now so that we can get ready for our next project. I see JR saying the audio is excellent. I hope so, and I hope it can last this whole thing. I've clipped it right up here close, and it should be it should work pretty good. So thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Let me once again get over here to, we'll go to this page. And again, this may move a little slow because this old laptop doesn't move too fast the way it is. But especially when I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff open. But this, you might recognize this fella. This is the Grinch that stole Christmas. And let's see. I wanted to show you the picture. Let's see where I put it. Okay, I think this is it right here. So since Christmas is coming up, I thought I would do another project similar to the Popeye thing I did, but make this guy right here. I think that would be pretty cool. So I took this picture, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. You can see I've already got it. I've kind of already got it done here, but I thought I would just start new and kind of show you the process of how to use the trace and all that. And we'll just import this. And I did have to clean it up a little bit. I'm still learning Lightburn, and in particular the trace feature. So there's a little bit to getting it the way you want. So, but I want to go through it just real quick here. And there's a couple of ways you can do the trace. You can come up here to Tools and come down here to Trace Image, or you can, the way I do it is just highlight it and then right click and then come down here and hit Trace Image this way. And it seems like there's one other way too, but I don't remember what it is right now. But anyway, when you bring this in, it has your default settings. The threshold is right in the middle of the 256 colors. It's at 128. And you can come in here, and if you want to get a better idea of where your lines are, you can fade this image, and that way you can see it a little better. And I'm trying to just take a look. It doesn't look too bad. I know when I did it the other day, I had to clean it up, but maybe I fiddled with it. And okay, so yeah, here's part of the thing. You notice this is all around this white part, and that's what you want, but it's not getting the inside of this black part. So I think that's why I had to try to fiddle with the threshold a little bit and move this back one way or the other to, and I don't really remember how I did it. Maybe I was moving the cutoff. Okay, yeah, so there we're getting a little bit more of the the black outline trace. All right, let me come up here and see, because I know there was a few things I had to change. Like I said, I'm just going to kind of go through it quickly here tonight for the sake of time. But I did have to play around, because like right here was a spot where this black got a little blotchy, and it's not going to make a good crisp outline. But like I said, I'm not going to go through this completely because I've already done it with this other one. But what you want to get is, like right here around his waist is white. This is white. Up here at the hat is white. But you want to make sure that you get those where they're completely, and they're not tied in with another color. So all this other part would be black around the very outside edge. The inside, I guess you'd call it his shirt or whatever, that's kind of a lime green color or whatever. His shoes down here were red. And you want to make sure that you've got all these little separate things, so that when you paint them and put them inside that little frame, you've got that black outline that's a solid around there with no gaps, and that'll make it look right. So, does anybody have any questions? I see Mr. Ballard's joined us tonight. Just throw a question in there if anybody's got one. I'm going to go ahead and start setting my material up and get this thing turned on. I do have the chiller on already. And we'll throw this over here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and frame this thing and see if it, well, that's not right. Oh, I know what I did. That was from the last thing I cut. Yeah, I didn't hit the origin button, so that was from the last thing I cut the other night. So let me reset the origin button. And, oh, I know why it did that too. It's because I had this other thing turned on. Okay, let's do that again. There we go. And this doesn't have to be exact, because it's all going to be cut inside there. So as long as I'm not going off the edge, we should be good. Okay, so we've got that set up. And now let me take us back to okay, Rob is saying, Dave, if you want to type in inches, just type 5 IN or 5 and the inch symbol into the box, and it will change similar to vector. Yeah, last week I showed how it has the calculator function where you can type, for example, if you have it set up in millimeters and you want to make 12 inches, you can put 12 and then times 25.4 and hit enter, and it will do the calculations and turn it into millimeters. But you are correct. You can also do it the other way. You could type 12 IN or 12 and the inch symbol. There's this Lightburn software is really nice because there's 3 or 4 different ways to do the same thing, and that's a good indication of that. Ryan says, just as a line drawing, he looks menacing. Well, he's a mean one, you know, Mr. Grinch. New lights look good. Thank you. It's really nice having those in there so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, let me get back over here and switch back over here real quick. Whoops. I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. Come on, Dave. This ain't your first rodeo. Okay, so here's the Grinch, and this is what I've got. Now, what I did is I turned off this outline, and this is what I use as a backer. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this part first. So I'm going to highlight this one, and well, actually, in case somebody wants to know how I got that, I will show you. If I come here and highlight, if I can get my clicker to work. There we go. If I highlight that right there, now I think you can see it. It's got the outline highlighted. And then I can, there we go. I can right click and hit duplicate and then use my arrow keys and move that over. And that's what I've done to get the outside, which is what I'm going to use for my backer. So since I've already got one of those, I'll just delete that one. And then I'll highlight this one. And I'm going to use my left arrow key to bring this over so that I can get it. That red outline, what you see, that's the size of my blank there. So I want to make sure that that's right there. And then what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll turn the output off for, see, I guess I could move that one up to the top. So now all we see is the frame. So now when I turn the laser on and get ready to cut, all that's going to cut is that outside piece, and that's what I want to cut first. And in a few minutes, you will see why I want to do that one first. So I've got the fan coming on here, the exhaust fan. We're going to get that cranked up. And I usually turn it on and give it just a minute because that thing doesn't just, it doesn't just come on and just take right off. It kind of winds up slowly. And the same thing when you shut it down. It takes a minute. So now you guys may not even be able to hear it, but the fan is running. So now I'll turn the laser on. We've got the chiller on. It's at the correct temperature. As I look back at the gauge there, and we're good to go. We should be ready to hit start, and it will take off and start cutting that outline. And I will switch cameras so you can see that. Okay, this is a great question, William. He says, you mentioned turning on your chiller. Is a chiller necessary for a mid-level 40 to 60 watt CO2 laser? Omtech has both a 3000 series and a 5000 series, pros and cons. Okay. Let me first say the main reason I wanted a chiller is because I live in Georgia, so obviously summers get very hot out here. And I kind of think, you know, I've worked around sheet metal stuff where they've had big lasers and stuff like that. You need a chiller. That's my personal opinion. The way, if you watch my unboxing video, what they send with all these machines is a blue tub, kind of like a little tote thing. And they have an aquarium pump. And yeah, that will circulate some water, but there's nothing to cool that water. So what you have to do is either, you know, put stuff in your freezer and, you know, milk jugs or whatever to get some ice, and, you know, make sure, you know, you always have to constantly worry about what the temperature of the water is when you're trying to control it by adding ice and that kind of thing. That wasn't for me. So I told them straight up, I said, I got to have a chiller. So they sent me a chiller along with this laser. And also the one that I got is actually one that you could connect two lasers to. It has two inlets and two outlets. And since I'm just running one laser, I just have a looped hose on the second set. So I'm just using it with this one laser. But the other thing I want to talk about is that 3000 series, they call that a chiller, but it is not really a chiller in the true sense of the word. It is more of a radiator type thing. Yeah, it's got some fans that'll remove some of the heat, but it doesn't have anything to chill. You know, it doesn't have any refrigerant type stuff in it. It's not going to chill the water. It's just going to blow it, have the fans pull it through a radiator type thing and try to remove the heat. So they call it a chiller. I would disagree. It's not really a chiller. And a lot of people buy that because it's a lot less expensive than the 5200 or the 5202. And then they find out, it's nothing more than a glorified radiator is really what it is. Okay, so let me put another blank in there. I think we've got, looks like that cut out just fine. And it looks like I can see a couple of marks. Let me switch cameras here. Yeah, this has, if I can get, it's got a couple little marks. I'm not sure. There must have been a little speck of something in there that I didn't get cleaned up correctly, but since this is a backer board, it didn't go through. Well, yeah, it did too. If you hold it up to the light, it's not like it just pierced it. And anyway, that won't matter because this is going to be painted black and be the backer board anyway. So I can fill that. That'll fill up with paint, no more than that is. But apparently I need to check that. I must have had something right there. In fact, we can go take a look at that right now and see what I had. Oh yeah, they're right there, Dave, you knucklehead. All right, so let me delete those in case I ever run this again. So yeah, it was just a couple little stray lines that I didn't see. And like I said, it's a good thing it wasn't any bigger because that's really not going to hurt anything. And again, that's because this is a backer piece. So it will be the backside of Mr. Grinch. Okay, let's see. Did I get your question answered, William? And like I said, you mentioned a 40 to 60 watt CO2 laser. Even though that's a smaller laser, I'm going to tell you, you still need a chiller unless you want to fool with doing the ice cube thing and all that. And it's now here Ryan's making a point here. Uses a bucket of distilled water. Well, you always want to use distilled water, and if you have, if you have it in the house or in a place, that might be a little different. But in my case, being out in the garage, especially in the summertime, I don't want to have to fool with ice. I would constantly be having to check that stuff, and it's just too hard to try to keep it at a constant temperature. With my chiller, I have it set up so that it will go as low as 16 degrees Celsius and as high as 18. After 18, that's when it'll kick in and start cooling. If it's a lot of times when I come out here, now that it's starting to get cold outside, if it's, I might flip it on and it might say 14. Well, it's obviously not going to run, but it's going to, circulate through. And usually what I do is I don't turn the laser part on, but I just turn the machine on and just let it run for a little bit. In fact, I came out here probably 2 hours ahead of time and turned the chiller on just so that it would be at a constant temperature before I started running things. So, all right, so I've got another piece here. Let me set this one up. Okay, we'll come back over here for a second. Now that I've got the backer piece ran, we will highlight that one, and we'll scoot it back over here out of the way. It really wouldn't matter. I could leave it there and just turn it off, turn the output off, but I like to move it over here out of the way, and then I can just turn this off. And then I can come back here and turn this part on. And I want to scroll in here and make sure I don't see any stray lines. I don't think I see anything. So I think we're good here. And again, you can preview this. I showed this the other night. This is another good way to check and make sure you don't have something weird going on. Okay, and also note on the far right hand corner down here, you can always look and see it says it's going to take 12 minutes and 36 seconds. And that thing that I ran last week was within probably about 4 or 5 seconds of being what the actual machine time took. So this that's one thing I like about Lightburn. It seems to be very accurate on the cut time. So 12:36, and we can frame this again just to make sure nothing changed. But it should be set the same spot. Okay. Now we're ready to hit start, and it should take about 12 minutes. So we'll just chat or answer any questions you might have while this is running. Welcome to Don. He's popped in here. How you doing, Don? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Yeah, Alan says, I have a 3000 cooler on my CNC spindle. It is simply a fan-cooled radiator. I use antifreeze in it for anti-corrosion benefits. I think that they say to be careful about antifreeze and a laser chiller. Yeah, I have avoided trying to put mine in. A lot of folks say use the RV antifreeze or, use this or that. I just prefer to use just distilled water, and I've, insulated my garage door. And again, I'm in Georgia, so we did have some days when it got down about mid 20s, but I can come out here and about the lowest it's going to get out here in the garage is about 45 or 50 degrees. That's about it overnight. So I think I'm pretty safe in, knowing that my chiller and more importantly, my laser tube, which is going to have some water in it, is not going to freeze and crack that. So Alan says, Dave, are you getting comfortable with your power and speed settings for cutting? Have you tweaked them since you started? Well, let me just show this. I have this little test program. Everybody will say, hey, you need to run one of these test cards and stuff. I don't do that, because when you run a test card, you're basically running a whole bunch of settings that aren't going to work. So I have a little program that is just this right here. It's a circle, and then a square, and then a bigger square, and then a bigger square, and then a bigger square. And all of these are at different settings. So if you look right here, if I can get my hands on it, I cut the circle at 15% power, I think 10 millimeters a second or something like that. You turn it over, nothing. It didn't go through, didn't cut. Okay, the first square, the next one out, is at 20% power. Same thing. You look on the back, you can see there's a couple of places where it tried to poke through, nothing. Okay, then obviously, since I'm holding this on my hand, you can tell that the next one at 25% power, it cut through. So it cut that piece. Then it moves out and it cuts at 30% power, which is this piece, and it cuts. And then this one is 35% power, which obviously it cuts. So I have this thing, and if I switch different thicknesses of material or types of material, I run this thing, this little test pattern. If I can get it back together, there we go. And you can see I don't waste much material, because now I figure, usually within that, you get a halfway decent starting point, and then you can figure out what you can get to cut. When I'm going to do a engraving of some kind, I basically just put a piece of scrap in there, get what I think is going to be the correct settings, and then kind of tweak back and forth from there. But as far as changing this, here's my deal. If I was making these to sell them, which I'm not, I'm just making this because I want a Grinch. But if I was making some kind of a product like the ornaments or whatever, I would figure out how to tweak it, run it faster, increase the power, get that little magic combination to really knock them out. But I'm not running stuff to sell. I'm just out here playing. So it's like I said, when I ran that, this thing here, this Merry Christmas thing that we ran last week, It took 8 minutes and something to cut both pieces of this out, the backer and the Merry Christmas with all this detail. It took a little over 8 minutes. Maybe I could tweak it and get it down to 6 minutes or maybe even 4 minutes, but it doesn't matter. I'm not selling it. I want it to cut. Everything I try to figure out is how to get it to cut as clean as possible with the least amount of power to cut through this thickness. That's what I try to do. I am not in it for the production factor. Okay, I'll set this back over here so you won't have to look at me. We are right about halfway, I guess. It says we're at about 6 minutes in, and that's at what, 12:36, I think. So Don says, are those square? How close are those square to size? You know what? I haven't really measured them as far as, because I don't really even know what I drew them as. I wasn't running that test to check accuracy as far as, you know, if I've got a 20 millimeter square, is it micing 20 millimeters? I basically just drew those larger just to test the cut, if it's going to cut through. But I need to bring my other calipers out here and that have the millimeters on them. Of course, I could do the math, I guess. But I really don't know what I drew them as. I'd have to go look and then do the math on it to see if they're close. But I'm sure they're pretty close. Let's see. Ryan says, Dave, you have... Okay, what other things have you cut on the side of the laser that looks like a dog tag and stuff? Okay. This is a couple of things you're seeing setting on the laser there. This is my one of the focal gauges, and this right here where I'm holding my fingers, that's 10.3 millimeters. I just made this bigger so that I could have something to hold on to. But since I use the American photonic lenses, and all of them, the 1.5, the 2, the 2.5, and the 4-inch, all use that same spacer. That's why I made these. They send you, it's kind of funny because when you buy one of their lens, they send you a AAA battery. And they say that the AAA battery laying on its side is just the right distance. Well, I wasn't going to mess with the AAA battery because it's round, and every time you set it down, it rolls off. So I made some of these, and 10.3 millimeters is approximately the diameter of a AAA battery. So I made these. This is something else I made. This is one of the first things I cut, I think, just playing around. Got a couple of different sizes of those. I did make one other thing I'll grab and show you too. You may have already seen this, Ryan, but I came out here and made this yesterday. This is kind of a layered thing. There's this white backer is one piece. This red rectangle shape is another piece. The subscribe letters are all standing up. If I hold it this way, you can see that they're all standing up. And then this white, this white, and then this red, that's all stacked on top of one another. And then the notification bell and the hands are all kind of a 3D looking thing, although you don't really see it. But I made this thinking that I would stick this back in the background somewhere, but I think I'm going to make another one and make it much bigger, because when I stick it way like over here, you can't even read it. So I will probably go back and make maybe use a whole blank to make one of those, make it really big. Because my plan was to stick it in that window right above where that exhaust goes out. But I thought, well, shoot, by the time I put it over there, you won't even be able to tell what it says. So let's see here. Alan asked, let me put this back on here so I keep eye on it. Alan asked, what power level do you try to stay below for tube life? That's a great question, Alan. Let me see if I'm getting my notes here. Okay, one of the first things I did is I ran what's called a power test. And it's just a program of a bunch of lines. And again, for each line, you set a percentage of the power. You start at like I started at 15%, went 15, 20, 25, 30, so on and so forth, all the way up to 80% power. And they say that at 80% power, that's about the max you want to go, because you'll overdrive the tube and really shorten the life and stuff like that. So I checked with the on the Omtech site. I forget the I think it's an F2 laser tube is what I have. So I went on their website, looked up the settings for an 80 watt F2 laser tube, and it gave me the maximum milliamps that I should run to get the good lifespan of the tube, and it's 28 milliamps. So I'll go ahead. It looks like that thing's almost done here. Let's see. 12:36 right now. It's not quite. It's going to take just a few seconds longer, looks like. Wow, that's pretty close. 12:45. So it took 9 seconds longer than the actual thing. Okay, let me. This is my scrap piece of paper, and I don't know if you'll be able to see. How you guys can't see that, but over here I've got. Like I said, I wrote down 15% all the way to 80, and then I ran those tests. So it would do the first line at 15%. It was 5 milliamp. You go on down 20 amp or 20%, 6 milliamp, 25%, 7 milliamp. And you jot that down, and then you see where you end up at 28. And then you stop. You don't want to go any more than that. I mean, you probably could once or twice, probably wouldn't hurt, but I'm trying to max everything out. I want to get the most mileage I can out of that too. I want it to last forever if it can. Or probably outlast me anyway. But anyway, by the time I got to 28 milliamps, I was at 80%. So, and you see, I'm running this at 30%, cutting that 1/4 inch material, and it's 7 milliamp is all it is. So it's, you know, that's my goal, is to use the least amount of power as I need to cut it. I'm not really worried at being in a hurry, because again, I'm not making stuff to make money and in production, and that's not what I wanted a laser for. So that's how I roll with that, Alan. Let's see, yeah. Maybe someday, you know, if I get ready to cut something and it's going to take 30 minutes, maybe I'll try to tweak it a little. But you know, the nice thing about it is, I mean, you've seen me now. This is like the 3rd live stream I've done, and every time I just throw it on there, use those settings, and boom, it all cuts out. It's all, you know, I never do much of anything. It works, and you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I say. So Clyde's in the house. Good evening, Clyde. Happy Thanksgiving to you. All right, let's go. Let me switch the camera back over here. Whoops, I keep hitting the wrong darn thing. There we go. Let's check this out and see if it all came loose. Looks like all of it's loose. Now, I mentioned earlier that I like to cut the backer first. And it doesn't really matter, I guess, but when you go to pull this up, a lot of this stuff, like if you look right here, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see it that good. Let me move the gantry out of the way. And again, I don't know if you can see it, but right here, there's a little tiny piece that's fell. All these little bitty ones will fall through this honeycomb. And I know one thing I forgot to do. And that is, well, it may be empty. I might have emptied it. I was going to say I forgot to empty the crumb tray. Because as I pull this up, and I'm trying to be careful here because this outer frame is not, there we go. So this is why I cut this. Like I said, this is going to be pretty fragile. Yeah, let's see if I can get. So if I set this on there, I hope you guys can still see this. Yeah, maybe. But there's all these little pieces. And they're all going to fit back in there after they're painted. So what I try to do is, as I'm pulling this up, I don't know if you can, I hope you can see some of this, how I'm dropping these in here. Just kind of piecing it all back together like a puzzle. But when I go to pull these out again, when I did the Popeye, what I did is I had some little containers. And I put the pieces for each color, which I needed about 7 of those containers, I think, with Popeye. But I'd put the blacks in one, the reds in one, you know, all the different colors in their own little container to keep them separate. And then I just set at my counter in the house and painted them. And once I started putting the pieces back in here like this puzzle, that's when you notice what you're missing. And like I said, these little bitty ones, that's a little tiny one. Yeah, come on now. Try to turn this so I can get it where you can see it a little better. Okay. Well, I got something. Boy, that is super thin right there. That may be a little tough right there. Trying to get everything lined back up. Oop, oop, is it going? There we go. Okay, now I've got this. That little piece. And I know somebody is probably going to watch this and go, man, this guy's crazy. Why is he worrying about all them little pieces? Why didn't you just delete some of those lines and just make it the big pieces and all that? And I think that by doing this and saving every little tiny piece, it just really makes it. You know, the person that created this Grinch drawing felt that it needed a little shadow or whatever. So, all right, now as I carefully move this around, I can see I'm missing one here in his hat, two right here, and then two right here. So if I get the crumb tray, okay, there's something. Boy, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. See, here's one that's pretty good size, but I don't see. That's too big for there, so that's not that one. That one is that one. I think this one is right there, I think. Okay, and I think that one. Okay. Sometimes it's really hard to tell the shape of these things. I think this one goes there. And they're so darn hard to pick up because they're so tiny. Probably going to have to get my tweezers out to do that. But there's still a few pieces in the crumb tray that I might dig through later on. Or sometimes it's easier. Maybe that piece doesn't fit in there. Maybe that's why I'm having trouble. Anyway, let's see if I can pick this up real careful like. Get my little brown paper over here. Yeah, that's going to work. Okay, so there, minus just a few little tiny pieces. I got to either find that piece or recut it. Got a couple more little tiny pieces. And like I said, sometimes rather than digging through the crumb tray trying to figure out which one is the right one, it's actually easier just to go back in the program, empty the crumb tray completely. And then go into Lightburn, pull that one little tiny vector out and put a piece of scrap up there and recut it, and then go in the crumb tray and get, because if there's only one little crumb in there, you know that's the one you just cut. So Alan says, what is the width of the curve that a cut produces? It's hard to tell on the screen. It's not much. It is, I mean, Alan, if you look, if I hold this up to the camera, see, remember that this one is coming out, the most outside one. So you can see, even when I wiggle it back and forth, there's the biggest gap it is right there. I've got it all pushed to the other side. It's not much. And in fact, it's so good that sometimes, like you saw me right here where this mouth is, it's so daggum thin and so fragile. I had trouble getting that piece back in. Ryan says, wonder if you could cut the project on a baking sheet. The scorching wouldn't matter. Yeah, I probably could, but you know how baking sheets are after you've used them, at least mine, they, from the heat, they twist. I don't know if I could get it flat. I'd have to figure out a way to clamp it down or something. But it's really not that hard. I mean, you think about all the pieces that this is cut, and I found all but 4, and they're like little tiny, and they're probably still in the crumb tray if I go through the crumb tray. But if I have trouble figuring them out, I will just go one by one and pull that little tiny vector, empty the crumb tray, and do it that way. And that way I know I've got the right. And like I said, some of them are tiny. They were that way with the Popeye thing. There were some that I had to come out. I think I was missing about 4 of them. And one of those, this is, let's see if I can show this. This right here, you might recognize it. I'm going to try to hold it at this end. Maybe that piece won't fall out. That is the anchor tattoo on Popeye's arm. You see how small that is. Now this little piece in the middle, when I first cut it, the anchor, it was so thin it totally disintegrated. I couldn't even salvage it. So what I had to do was go back. I recut that section of his arm, and then I offset the anchor by a ½ millimeter so that it would be a total of 1 millimeter bigger. And that way I could cut it without it disintegrating. But then I also had to save this little, if I can get it out of there. It's funny how you can't get them out when there it came. Okay, so now it's out. But see, this was a tattoo on Popeye's arm. So this little bitty round piece that goes in the middle of that hole for the anchor, that needed to be skin tone or flesh color, whatever you want. I used peach, I think was the type of paint I used. Well, you can see how small some of this stuff gets. So if you get ready to do something like this, obviously you need to make it as big as you can, because if you try to make it small, if I tried to scale that down to half scale, half that stuff would just burn up. It'd be so small, it'd just burn it all to pieces. So Don says, pretty cool, Dave. Does software tell you how many pieces there are? No, it doesn't. It doesn't know how many pieces. It just knows cuts. It doesn't have any idea how many are in there, and I don't either. I haven't tried counting them, but I think that is going to look pretty dadgum cool after I get it painted, and you'll see it in a few days. Probably what I'm going to do after I wake up tomorrow from my tryptophan coma. I will probably spend the afternoon going through and painting. And I think, if I remember right, there's like 6 or 7 different colors. There's white, red, black, obviously for the outline and the backer. I think there's a couple of pieces that are yellow around the eyes. I think the eyes are brown. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. About 6 or 7 different colors. But it is it's a lot of fun to make these. I was just surprised. I saw somebody else do something similar, and I wanted to try one, and I found that Popeye thing. I'm like, okay, I'll do Popeye. I like Popeye. And it just came out so cool. I was just amazed myself. And then after I got it done, I'm thinking, all these people were commenting and going, "Oh, how'd you get it?" So, like there was some secret to it. And there's really no secret. It's really not that hard. The hard part is finding those little bitty pieces and knowing where they go, and also keeping track of what color the pieces need to be painted. But it's just basically you're just cutting a big puzzle, painting it, putting it back together. And they turn out really cool. So I can't wait to get the Grinch done. I think he'll be pretty cool. All righty, we've been here about an hour. Let's see. Jerry says, I'm going to buy Lightburn tonight, I think. I got to load a computer real fast, but then I'll get it. Okay. Well, Lightburn, if you're going to use it with a diode laser, the license is $60. And then, because that's what I already had. And then when I got ready to upgrade it to use, you have to get a what they call a DSP license, which I don't know what that means, but it means it'll work with the Ruida controller for a CO2 laser. So that was another 60. So, but still, I mean, I love the stuff. It's, it's a steal at that price, I think. Yeah, good point, Ryan. I think you can get a 30-day trial on it, especially if you don't already have it. I had already had it before, so I had already used up my 30-day trial. Because when I bought that O'Tour, I did the 30-day trial, used that up, and then I started using the O'Tour again, and then I wanted to use it on this Enjoy Wood diode that company sent me. So I had to get the license to use it. But I love the stuff. It's great. And I had somebody comment, I don't know if anybody saw it, but I'm repurposing the video from these live streams and kind of putting together a little shorter video for the people who aren't channel members. And somebody had commented that I guess they noticed that I always click start in Lightburn and I'm connected with the USB cable. And they said, the people have told them that, it works better if you use Lightburn to send it to the machine and then run it from the machine controller. And I get that, but I guess I haven't run a long enough or a big enough file, because everything I've done, I've always used straight, just click start from Lightburn and let it feed in the controller. And I guess if you get a big enough file, it'll buffer or something and your cut will stop in the middle of it. But I haven't had that problem so far. And until I run across that problem, I'm going to keep doing it the way I'm doing it, because most of my stuff, the file size isn't that big apparently. So, all right, I guess we're going to wrap this one up. Thank y'all for coming and hanging out with me tonight. That's been fun. Like I said, I won't bore you and let you watch me paint it. I'll do that. I'll do that off camera somewhere. But if anybody's up to do the hangout thing like we did last week, send me a message on Facebook Messenger, and I will send you the link and we can do a little hangout. I got room for 9 other people or something like that. If you don't want to do that, that's cool too. I'll be out here a while shutting everything down anyway. So let's see, we got another question here. Dave, curious about your morning coffee meeting. The coffee sessions is nothing more than a BS session. I'll try to be nice. It's usually me sitting in my office drinking coffee. I just started doing it back the end of 2019. And then, of course, with the COVID thing and everybody was staying home, it kind of got popular, where it's the same pretty much 10 or 15 people that come hang out in the morning. I'm on there for like 30 minutes. drinking my coffee, griping about the weather or politics, or maybe talking about something I'm working on in the shop, stuff like that. But there's no topic. When I turn it on in the morning, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, you know. And if somebody starts talking about something in the chat, then we might get off on. I've done, 3D printing stuff in the background. People ask me about my 3D printers, or ask me to show them something in Design Spark Mechanical, and it just depends. Sometimes we do kind of a serious topic about something. Most of the time, it's just me BSing for 30 minutes while I drink my coffee. So you're welcome to join. It costs nothing. It's on the other channel. It's not on this channel. It's on the Dave Gatton Coffee Sessions channel. So if you want to come hang out there, you're more than welcome. And that's about it. All right. We'll, just BSing. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for coming tonight. Everybody have an awesome Thanksgiving. I know I'm looking forward to eating my little microwave meals that I get every year. It's good. I don't care. It's what I'm used to, and it's good. And I did go get some cranberry sauce today, so we're all good there. So anyway, thank you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And I appreciate you being channel members and making this all possible. Because if it wasn't for you, and of course, Omtech Laser, none of this would be going on right now. So let me get ready to hit the button to get out of here. And like I said, if y'all want to hang out later, Facebook message me and I'll send you the link. And other than that, we'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving.